Hello friends, a very good morning to one and all. Today we will discuss on the topic subsequence. First of all, we will know what is a subsequence. Let n be a given sequence, and if sequence of nk is strictly increasing sequence of natural numbers, then ank is called a subsequence of an. Now let's take an example. Sequence of natural numbers is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Here sequence of 2n, sequence of 2n plus 1, sequence of 3n, sequence of 2 power n, sequence of n square, all are subsequence of natural number. Now take other examples. Sequence of an is equal to sequence of minus 1 power n is equal to minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1 and so on. Here sequence of a to n is equal to 1, 1, 1 and so on. Sequence of a to n plus 1 is equal to minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 and so on. Here both sequence of a to n and sequence of a to n plus 1 are subsequence of an. Oscillatory sequence subsequence can be convergent. If an is equal to 2 if the number is prime and the number itself if the number is not prime, then sequence is 1, 2, 2, 4, 2, 6, 2 and so on. Its subsequence are 2, 2, 2 and so on, and 1, 2, 1, 4, 6, 8 and so on. It is an unbounded sequence, and an unbounded sequence subsequence can be convergent. Here now take another example. Here sequence of 1 by n is a sequence. Here its subsequence are 1 by 2n, 1 by 3n, 1 by 2n plus 1. If any sequence is convergent, then all its subsequence are convergent. If sequence of 1 by n converges to 0, then all its subsequence converges to 0. Now let's discuss what is a complementary subsequence. If all the terms of two subsequences are distinct, then these subsequences are called complementary subsequence. Now let's take an example. Sequence of an is equal to sequence of minus 1 power n. Here sequence of a to n is equal to 1, 1, 1 and so on. And sequence of a to n plus 1 is equal to minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 and so on. Here sequence of a to n and sequence of a to n plus 1 both are complementary subsequence of an. Now let's discuss some important results. If a sequence an converges to L, then every subsequence of an converges to L. But the converse may not be true. Now let's discuss this with the help of an example. Take sequence of an is equal to minus 1 power n. Its subsequence are 1, 1, 1 and so on, and minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 and so on. Here its subsequence converge, but sequence do not converge. If two complementary subsequence of a sequence an are converges to same limit L, then sequence of an converges to L. This is the best process to show that the sequence is convergent or not. Now let's take an example. Sequence of an is equal to sequence of 1 by n. Its subsequence are sequence of 1 by 2n, sequence of 1 by 3n, sequence of 1 by 4n, sequence of 1 by 5n. Here subsequences of 1 by n are sequence of 1 by 2n and sequence of 1 by 2n plus 1. If sequence of 1 by 2n converges to 0 and sequence of 1 by upon 2n plus 1 also converges to 0, then sequence of 1 by n also converges to 0. Every subsequence of divergent sequence is divergent, but converge need not be true. Now let's take an example. An is equal to 2 if the number is prime, and the number itself if the number is not prime. Its subsequence are 1, 4, 6 and so on, and 2, 2, 2 and so on. Here 1, 4, 6 and so on sequence is divergent, but the sequence is not divergent. It is an oscillatory sequence. Every subsequence of a monotonic sequence are monotonic. Now let's take an example. If sequence of 1 by n is decreasing sequence, so all its subsequence are monotonically decreasing. A non-monotonic sequence can have monotonic subsequence. If sequence of -1 power n is a sequence and its subsequence are 1, 1, 1 and so on, and -1, -1, -1 and so on. These two subsequences are monotonic, but sequence of -1 power n is non-monotonic, as constant sequence is always monotonic. Every subsequence of a bounded sequence is bounded, but converse need not be true. Now let's take an example. An if is equal to 2 if the number is prime, and the number itself if the number is not prime. Here 2, 2, 2 and so on, and 1, 4, 6 and so on are its subsequences. 2, 2, 2 is bounded and its subsequence is bounded, but the sequence is not bounded. Now let's take another example. Sequence of -1 power n. Its subsequences are 1, 1, 1 and so on, and -1, -1, -1 and so on. Here the sequence -1 power n is bounded and its subsequences is also bounded. Every sequence have at least one monotonic subsequence. A bounded sequence have at least one convergent subsequence. If two subsequences are convergent, then sequence need not be convergent. Now let's take an example. If sequence of -1 power n is a sequence, then its subsequence are 1, 1, 1 and so on, and -1, -1, -1 and so on. Here, if the two subsequences are convergent, but the sequence is not convergent. Thank you and have a nice day.